Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Street Angels Show. We are showtiming. So my name is Mandolyn Reese. I'm known as the Street Angel. I've been running around the whole country as a public figure with feathery angel wings on. I go to all different events and cities, states, and out of the country here and there as well. And I've been to red carpet events, Hollywood stuff, and just everywhere. The beach, grocery stores. The airports especially are fun because it's like an international global sampling of people. But I run around with positive universal humanitarian posters such as this one. Be nice and kind and care about others. And here's one of my other favorites. Make your courage greater than your fears. Hopefully it's not upside down. But yeah, this is a cool one too. So that's me. I just want to introduce myself. And the purpose of my talk show is really to help others, and my mission is to help the world and spread positive energy and positive vibes, because we really need that in this world. There's a lot of bad stuff and violence and protesting and pandemic and just bad stuff happening, and it's needed more now than ever. And so, helping others, giving guidance and advice. And this season 4, I've really kind of devoted to more of the relationship and love aspect, as well as self-love and anything encompassing that. So today, special topic is going to be kind of a talk about like Tantra and what that is. So you can have some clarity about that and clear up some miscommunications as to what that is, and how you can apply it in your life and your partnership. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about jealousy and how to address that in your relationship if you have a romantic partnership and you struggle with jealousy. And we're also going to talk about some integral coaching. And so I have a really special guest who's a friend of mine, who lives in Austin, Texas, and he's a really kind of a Tantra guru, I would say. And we're going to be talking to his experience with Tantra, both individually with himself and his partner, his girlfriend. And then we're going to talk about the kind of coaching that he does. And I'm going to be doing my side of it, and he's going to be doing his side of it, sharing our opinions and experiences with all this stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to be bringing in my guests now. And everybody give a clap and welcome Stephen Black. Hi.
Hi, Andy. Thank you for having me.
He's also known as Dragon, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I would be curious to how you got that nickname.
Sure. So, I've been doing Tantra for a little over 4 to 5 years now, and in the practice, you learn to feel your own energy. And I come from a very sciencey background, and this was all woo to me and my friends. The way I justified it was well, the mind is really powerful, and whether or not what we're experiencing is real, it feels amazing. So in doing this practice, I became more and more touch with my inner energy, my kundalini, and I could harness energy and gain what I felt was a lot of power. And I realized it was kind of this fire dragon power, and I really tuned into it fully, actually doing the fire breath at one of the workshops we've been to. And
it is cool.
Yes.
It does stir up energies. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but for people who have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, if you could say what Kundalini is.
Kundalini is just another name for your energy. I don't want to go into too much detail about the philosophy behind what Tantra is, and rather just keep it more layman's. Okay. But Kundalini is your energy. You can feel it going up and down your spine. Sometimes people have what they call a Kundalini awakening, and you can do Kundalini yoga. There's Kundalini massage. And it's related to Tantra. You can call it Tantra energy. You can call it sexual energy. You can, however you want to portray your energy is fine.
I called it sexual energy because that's always how it's been kind of taught to me. The word Kundalini, everybody's always kind of conveyed to me that it's sexual energy that you you harness and you pull up to your brain, and that you know, basically utilize to create power and clarity and drive and creativity, and, you know.
Right. Yes. I think in the U.S. we have a mix of like traditional tantra and neo tantra, and there's a lot of sexual emphasis on it. And traditionally, there wasn't necessarily as much sexual emphasis, but the reason why I think it's actually important to have that emphasis in the U.S. Specifically, and actually many conservative countries, is that we've been taught to suppress our sexual energy, our sexual selves. And as a result, we actually get energy blocks around our sexual energy.
So
And so when we learn to awaken that or clear those channels, we get this huge boost of energy, and we find out we do have a lot of power. And that lets us really step into our divine masculine and our divine feminine when we've harnessed, accepted fully like who we are and that we are sexual beings.
there is so much shame and guilt put around sexuality, which is bizarre because it's one of the primal main forces that drive everything in our world. And it just sucks that there's so much shame and guilt around it, and trying to express it, explore it. And then there's even some amount of laws that mess with it. And it's like, there's just, it sucks that throughout history, it seems like it's been shamed, suppressed, and yes, the blockages. And while we're on it, I just want to share a quick story. I did experience a Kundalini awakening where I went to LA, Los Angeles, and like I took some healing classes, and it definitely blew apart my sexual blockages and my energy. My Kundalini was like, the blockages lifted, and suddenly I'm just going to be straight up raw and honest, because that's what I believe in with this show, is being myself. And like, I swear, I felt like I was a teenage boy, and I had all this crazy sexual energy, and I was like, I need partners, and I need to release this energy. And it was like really weird to feel that, and not to know what to do with it when it first happened. Like, we don't realize as beings how many blockages we can accumulate in our lifetime between like our childhood, teenage years, and that's when we're starting to learn that it's shamed and suppressed, and you can't be sexual, especially if you're a woman and you come from a household where it's very religious, and like, and then it's like these blockages, questions, and when that comes off, it's like, oh. So did you have something like that happen to you?
Similar. For me, I was fortunate in that one, I did experience that fully as a teenage boy, so I can relate there already. But when I had when I started clearing my channels, I had already been taking these Tantra courses and learning how to move my energy. So instead of becoming like really overwhelmed with this, I already knew how to move it. And that's one of the benefits of learning from people who are doing this, and that you know in practice how to move it. So when you do experience this, you are able to thread. You don't become overwhelmed by it. It's still really blissful and really enjoyable, but it's not as overwhelming as if you might have a Kundalini awakening on your own. And that's not very common. And people love to share the stories when it does happen that way, but usually those are a practice they've been doing repeatedly for years anyway. And it's something just like bust open and like, whoa, and they feel the surge come over them.
For me, it's very distinct, and that's why I'm able to talk about it, because I was like, this happened to me. Like, I recognized, I was like, holy crap, where is this energy coming from, and what do I do with it? And
yeah,
so to know how you deal with it, I mean, but it was just funny that to have that awareness was key. The awareness that I was like, wow, I just released all these blockages, and it's so freeing in a way, because it's like most people go in their life asleep, like they don't realize they have all these blockages and problems. And so some of these classes, and this is actually, I should have said it earlier, everybody, I met Stephen in the Tantra community at a workshop. So I met actually you and your girlfriend at the same time. Yes. And you want to talk, do you want to mention her name, or I don't know what kind of boundaries you might have around that, but how long have you known her?
Yeah, sure. We've been together for, I think, at least 4 years now. Just about 4 years. And her name is Estrella, and she's an amazing woman. We've been on this journey together, and yeah, I met her 4 years ago, right when I was getting into this, and I had a lot of really interesting experiences around that. I actually believe I manifested her, because in the workshops you learn about how to use your energy to start manifesting things and how to change your thoughts to get what you want. And I was like visualizing I want Estrella. Well, I'm gonna call her Rachel for now because her name is Rachel, and it's relevant to the story. So I was like, I want Rachel. And then this Rachel comes into my life. I'm like, the universe, you're so funny. Like, that's not what I meant. I meant this Rachel. So I said like Rachel in her middle name. And then I'm like, no, like this girl. And then another one came into my life, but again, it wasn't that one. And it's happened like 4 times in a row. And then finally I like became like super clear, really embodied like what I was visualizing and wanting. And then she came into my life. I already knew her, but like I was like, this is like the most spectacular girl. I want her to come into my life. And then we hosted a play party, and that's where they're sneaking in. And it was a puja, it was a small workshop, and she came to that, and we had like the most incredible experience together, and it was just like totally PG, but it was just like it was so memorable. So it was really fun, and
You manifested people that were not the right fit, or
right, yes. So I believe that like the universe likes to play games with us, and sometimes it's very literal. So I was like, I want Rachel. So then a Rachel came into my life. It was like the universe interprets like I want a Rachel instead of I want this Rachel. And so I learned about how to be clear, because I think like the morals of the genie in the lamp, where you make a wish and then it comes true, but all these bad things happen also.
Yeah.
And that is a mistake I think we make a lot, is we think we want something and we don't trust in the universe. The universe gives it to us and it shows us that actually we don't know as good as the universe, and we should trust in the universe and what it gives us. So yeah, that's I don't know if you can relate to that or not, but I've spoken to many different manifestors, and we have those experiences, and it's better to trust the universe and let go of what you don't need instead of really trying to control everything. When you do that, you're in flow and you enter abundance more easily, a lot of happiness, all of that. And when you aren't, you get met with a lot of resistance and blockages and frustration, and things just don't go as you want. So it's really that's a very important practice that you do learn in Tantra, is letting go and trusting into the universe and into others and stuff. And that in itself has been life-changing for me.
Okay. So how have you applied Tantra within your partnership? Have you all done that a lot together?
We've done a fair amount together, not as much as I think both of us would like. Sadly, she has asthma, so when it comes to some of the breathing exercises, it's a little frustrating for her. However, I still do a daily practice myself, what's called the Cobra Breath. You can take Tantra 1, and that's learning how to move energy up and down your channels, which is really great for keeping your channels open and clear. And also it's really great for extending your staying power during intercourse. And in doing that too, you can create incredibly powerful male orgasms, like the kind where you're like screaming, you have like so much energy going through you. And that's like another like thing to get over as a man, is to be comfortable being vocal. I know women are encouraged to be vocal during intercourse, but we're supposed to be more quiet, and we're suppressing energy and we're not allowing it to flow through us.
I like that you're bold and willing enough to talk about this, because it is something that needs to be talked about because of the so much shame in the world. And Also, men probably struggle to talk about this openly. Maybe they talk about it with their buddies here, but I mean, at this level, this is like master level. So I'm sure there's a lot of guys with curiosity, especially around the realm of lasting longer, and like, because a lot of men do desire to satisfy their partner. And if they have any kind of trouble with ED or prematureness, like, it can give them an insecurity around that. And we, as people who went to the Ecstatic Hearts workshop in Austin, the teachers actually said he struggled with that until he learned Tantra. And that Tantra helped him to have these 12-hour marathons with his partner, and it's like he went from not being able to last at all to, marathons. So it is possible for guys who struggle with that, if you just make the choice to educate yourself and get some training, learn this stuff. So something we should have done in the beginning was I'd like to share kind of my own little personal definition of what Tantra is. Just based on my own research and classes and things that I've experienced, there's this huge miscommunication, like you already said, that Tantra is all about sex and this and that. Actually, no, it's not. Tantra is a lot about, if I could just try to describe, it's really about moving energy, for one. If you're doing it individually, moving energy, getting in touch with your own energy, clearing blockages, breath work, that kind of stuff. But with a partner, Tantra seems to be really about a deeper connection. Like you desire to have a deeper connection with the soul that you're in romantic partnership with. And so Tantra teaches you different eye gazing techniques combined with certain specific poses that you do together and embraces. And then channeling energy through breath work together. Like, it's very unique and specific stuff that you can learn to apply to your relationship to be more balanced and in harmony energetically with your partner, and to be closer. And it creates like this vulnerableness, but in a beautiful, gentle way. Does that sound pretty accurate from what you've experienced?
Oh yeah, I think those are great additions to add to it. I would also say that Tantra can be a healing modality. I've learned how to heal myself and others through being able to move my own energy. For example, headaches. If I get a headache, I can literally do this and move it away. And I can do that for other people too. I found that most headaches people are receiving are actually little energy blockages. And you just move that energy and clear it through their spine. Or if you get neck pain, you do the same thing. This is also called like Reiki, but it's the same practice. And you can practice moving energy through each other, which is really powerful. And the other thing I forgot to mention, and partly why I'm also called Dragon, is my energy is really large. A long time ago, I released my energy and I just was letting it flow out and stuff. And people who know a lot about energy don't recommend doing that because you can harm other people, and also you become susceptible to other people's energy. But I kind of forgot I did that because I wasn't really fully aware of my energy, and my partner super receptive to my energy, and she will know before I do what I'm feeling. And yesterday, I was I'm feeling stressed about something, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, your stress is giving me anxiety right now." I'm like, wow, it just hit me that realization. She'd already been able to vocalize it. So some people are very empathic to others' energy, and learning how to then bring it in and control it and manage it is really important, because you might be somebody who has big energy and you've received weird comments before, your energy is really bothering me. What are you talking about? I'm not doing anything to you. And it's subconscious. You aren't aware of that. So learning how to move it and control it and harness it and then play with it is another really fun thing you can do. And that's where healing can come in, is you can help other people. When you can control your energy, you can move other people's energy too, and that can help them with their blockages and accelerate their Kundalini awakening.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
I do wonder, how many of the classes have you done?
I have done about 3 a year, so I've done at least 12, and probably at least that many pujas also. I've staffed most of them.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I really recommend doing one every 3 months or more. I would love to do a monthly, but they don't offer them that frequently.
Mm.
So it's just it's more than just tantra with ecstatic hearts. It's also an empowerment workshop, and my purpose in life is to help others become higher versions of themselves. And in volunteering for these workshops, I'm able to help so many people. I've helped grow this community. I've helped transform many lives, and that's my way of giving back. So I really love that aspect of it. And if I could just plug in, I guess that's partly why I'm creating the Divine Dragons coaching program, is to help others learn these skills and then be able to share them with more people. Awakening has so many benefits, and so many of us are in unnecessary pain in the world that we can start helping each other, and we don't need to spend tons of money or this kind of stuff. It's about building community and new relationships, and these relationships that are going to help support each other. And I mean, I'm sure you remember just at the end of the third day at the Tantra workshop we did together, like everyone felt like family. Like we had shared more with these people than we had with many of our family members. And that's how you build community and trust, is in this kind of environment where you are totally open and vulnerable. And that's how I always am. I'm comfortable talking about anything with anybody because I know it's not good to hold stuff in. You just always freely let out, freely share it. And it's amazing the responses you get and how freeing it is. It's like every time I talk, it's like therapy.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, there was some stuff I shared in workshops, and then I was like, "Holy crap! I can't believe I opened up and said that in front of a whole group." But then it was like also very like freeing, and that release. Like sometimes I would like literally cry because it's just been held in and suppressed, and so it's like, yeah, I see the benefit in that, and you do feel like you make friends. And I thought it was really cool, like, to connect with people in Austin, because I mean, I've been, once I moved back to Texas, I felt like I was looking for my tribe. I went off to Los Angeles and Portland, and I was away from Texas for 5.5 years doing the gypsy life. And so it's like I changed and evolved and became so rainbow colorful, and then I came back here and I was like, all my friends moved away. I need to find a new tribe now to kind of match who I am. Like, so it was really cool, like, to at least try to meet some new people from Austin, because I'd like to actually live in Austin someday, but the way things are going right now, I really don't feel good to move. With the whole pandemic and all the protesting and upheaval, I just like, it's kind of nuts. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but that's just the way I am. So, but Austin, it's like LA, but in Texas.
Yeah.
And I'd like to explore more of Austin. So, hey, if you can connect me with more Austin tribe, I would totally dig it if we ever get back to normal and have more events.
Well, I'd love to share with you. So I'm an active community builder, and we have multiple projects in Austin. So if you are interested, in which you just said you are, I'd love to have you out for some of these. Part of what we're doing with the Divine Dragons, is having a monthly event or workshop where we go over a skill that people will greatly benefit from having. And then what we do is, for the rest of the month, we do daily coaching calls with them to make sure that they're integrating the skill. And after you do something per month, it becomes habit. So you've changed for the better in your life. And there's so many tools I've done this with for myself, and so many more I still want to do. This is just a really great way to start slowly transforming yourself into the better version of who you can be. And part of that is while we're doing these check-in calls, is you're building relationships with somebody, and that's building community. And we are building wellness centers around the 6 pillars of wellness that we'll get into a little bit later, so that we have physical locations to take care of our needs on a regular basis, and then living with people who are also doing the work. So we're going to be like a personal development community where we're always supporting each other, And you really have the deep level of trust that we've described with everybody in that community.
I kind of have a problem with trust. I'll just be honest. I've gone through so much. I just like that's a whole nother topic. But I feel like trust is a condition of conditional love, and it's like you don't necessarily need to trust people to love them, but like I do really find a lot of benefit in having people that you can relate to, and people who've had a curiosity of spirituality and gone to these things and workshops. Like it's that innate curiosity that drives people to reach for more experience or more ideas or open their mind. And I am so out of the box. Like my mind is so like open. Sometimes it's like you feel a little crazy because you've introduced so many new concepts, but then in that place you recognize the infiniteness, if that's a word, infiniteness of the fact that there's infinite beliefs available to us, infinite numbers, infinite space, infinite religions. Like when you get into that place of infinity, then you kind of learn that you're struggling to what to believe. And all you can really know is what's true for you. Like what you have felt, what you have seen, what you have gone through, what your experiences with others in life. You know what I mean?
Totally. You're starting to describe actually emergent integral or teal stage of consciousness, which is the second stage, or sorry, level of consciousness, the second stage of consciousness that humans can experience. And this is a very healing stage, in my opinion, because you're recognizing that there's all these things, and hey, I see the truth in all of these things, and you start looking at things from many different perspectives. So I guess I should quickly explain what integral consciousness is, or integral theory is. It's this realization that when you're having a argument with somebody or whatever, and one person you said this, and or you did this, and they say no, I did this, and like, how can two people see something so differently when it's the same event? And we find actually that it's very easy. And to be more complicated, there's four perspectives of reality that we all can experience. So those perspectives have been known since, as long as we've had language, which is really neat, but we aren't really taught this in school, and it's really fundamental to understanding how. And I think we aren't taught this because it makes our communication bad. So we are better off as laborers and that kind of thing. But our language is actually based around this truth, and that is one known as the good, the beautiful, and the true. So the good is what is culturally acceptable. The beautiful is how we feel about the different things that are happening around us, internally and externally, that we see. And the true are the things that we can both see and touch. And truth can be viewed both individually and from the group perspective, or from a societal level. So in integral theory, we would basically make a 4-quadrant chart, and we'd show on the top individual, and on the bottom group, and then we would have subjective and objective. So the individual subjective is how our feeling state. What are we feeling? How are we experiencing the world? So when I look at you, I feel certain things, but that's only my perspective. What I'm feeling, some other person might not feel if they're looking at you. So we have a different perspective of the same thing. We feel differently about that. But those are both incredibly real to us. And for a long time, there was a debate like, no, that's not part of reality. And in the 1984, Ken Wilber came up with a book where actually he was the first person to realize that all these perspectives are real, and you put them all together. So then you have the objective individual perspective, which is like your physical state of being, what's going on with you, what's your physiology, etc. And then you have the group subjective, our culture, our conditioning, what we're raised to believe. That's all culture. It's subjective. That's not based in reality, yet we all share that reality. So men treating women a certain way was how we were culturally conditioned to do, and the feelings we have around that are almost able to be expected, which is why jealousy is such an issue. And then we have the group objective, which is like how we are in society. What's our place in society? Where do we rank in a socioeconomic class system? So with integral coaching, we look at the person as unique and recognize that their fulfillment comes from having all four of these quadrants met. And they might be having difficulty because they aren't aware of these other perspectives. For example, someone who's living in the individual subjective perspective, but is in victim mentality, will blame other people for their feelings. Like, why do you make me feel this way? Mm-hmm. They have given away their power and they blame other people for their feelings. So they don't recognize that their feelings come from within them and how they respond to different situations, which is often based on past events. And when you have that realization, that's when you can start healing. This is where jealousy comes in, is you feel a certain way when you see somebody doing something. And that's either because you had that experience or you were culturally conditioned that was inappropriate. So you have a response like, oh, that's inappropriate. I'm going to be angry or whatever, or shame that person, that kind of thing around that happening. But it's all subjective. And we can, when we feel triggered, and that's the word we use when an emotion comes up that is negative, we're triggered. The event triggered us. When you become aware of these triggers, you can take a big breath and feel it, and then recognize that you're triggered.
Right.
And now you have what?
There's usually a fear under it.
Oftentimes, yes. But likewise, it could be pleasant things too. You can have a positive trigger also. It can just trigger a memory or something great that happened in your life. And you can learn how to change those, and you can learn how to process those. A great way is like NFT, tapping. When you're triggered, you can like tap this emotion. Like you don't know what you're doing, you don't know anything about tapping, and you're alone. Just tap your entire body. That'll actually help you process this trigger. You can go to somebody who studies EFT though, and they can actually help you through this right process for like doing it appropriately and helping you move through that and release that. It's amazing. Like we have so many healing modalities out there, and that's the thing is there's integral medicine, or rather integral healing, integral health. And that is about looking at the full spectrum of modalities, not just alternative medicine, not just conventional medicine, not just prescriptions, not just religion, but all of these things. And as you said, there are so many options, and they all have value. So when you get into understanding this integral way of being and thinking, is you start looking at everything for what value it has and the truth that it offers, and looking for that wholeness. This can also be called holistic. Integral is actually a little bit more deep than holistic, but many people are using them interchangeably. So if you've heard of like a holistic doctor, they're going to ask you questions about your living situation. They're going to ask you questions about your religion. They're going to ask you questions about your psychological health also, as well as your physiological health, because they're trying to look at the whole picture.
Right.
And integral coaching helps you start to do that for yourself, where you can start to recognize and see your blind spots, or at least see other people where they're at and coming from. So instead of trying to keep having the conversation, you keep repeating yourself and they keep repeating themselves, but you're talking from different perspectives. You're like, hey, wait, we're talking from two different perspectives here. I know you don't say this because it would sound condescending to them, but you know that they're coming from a different perspective, so you can shift your perspective to match theirs.
Right. And I'm always preaching that. Like, I'm always trying to tell people, look, as hard as things are, you have to try to put yourself in other people's shoes. Like, especially we're talking on your own individual life, because, you know, we don't know what's going on out there in the world, like the truth of it. But like, I'm talking about if you're having individual struggles with people in your life, your relative, your partner, coworker, it's important to attempt to put yourself in their shoes and try to see the situation that's the struggle from their side. And in that attempt, you're trying to see like what's causing them to feel that way or struggle that way. And something I also wanted to not challenge you on, but just provide an alternative opinion or statement. Statement is probably more accurate. Is people in situations do cause us to feel a certain way, and a lot of people will immediately just put the blame, like, you're causing me to feel this way, which is true to an extent because everything is alchemy. I feel like when people say things to us, it's alchemy. It's putting new frequencies and vibrations and words into our reality, causing us to process and integrate this new stimuli, and thus creating a reaction and a consequence from whatever was put into it. So yes, people do cause us to feel a certain way, but what we need to do as is come from a higher consciousness perspective of, okay, this person is having this reaction to whatever I said. People out there in the world could be having a reaction to what I'm saying right now. You know, it's like they're, you know, it's causing some kind of reaction, and then, you know, you end up going kind of back and forth dealing with the consequences of what you're putting out. And that's why it's also important to have more carefulness on what you say to people and how you come across. And yes, you can't please everybody. It's just a fact. You never know how someone else is going to actually perceive you, or if they're even listening properly or heard you right or integrated what you meant or the intention properly. Like, you have no control over their processing techniques or their level of comprehension. But what you can do, and this is what we were kind of talking about, is trying to have control over our own reaction to them. So we can say something and they can get offended, but we can also try to be careful of how we deal with their offendedness or how we, you know, basically proceed. It's kind of a back and forth effect of stimuli that you're just kind of going with. And that's how things can escalate. And that's why the Love Coach Academy teaches things like yellow light, red light. We need to de-escalate the stimuli, and there's certain techniques you can do for that. But the more higher, what we're really talking about with all of this and Tantra is higher consciousness, like always trying to learn and grow and open your mind and see things from higher perspectives and try to relate and have compassion for other people's experience and perceptions and things like that.
May I offer an integral example of communication? So when you say what was it that you said? When you say that we cause emotions in other people, I feel misunderstood, and I request that you let me explain what I meant by that. And what we're doing there and how that works is, in our language, we can actually speak from 4 quadrants. And we need to take responsibility for our feelings. So you can say something, and I can feel a certain way. But I don't control how you feel. For example, if I call you a purple 3-eyed monster, you laughed in this case. But if I called you like a blonde bimbo or something, you might have a different response. Now, the thing is that I believe both those things I just said are equally valid. Or as in they're not valid at all. I don't believe you're a blonde bimbo, and I don't believe you're a 3-eyed purple monster. But you might have been triggered by one and not by the other because of some past experiences that happened to you. Or maybe neither one landed for you, which is great. The thing is, and that's the thing, is that our emotions, how we felt, is based on kind of what happened to us in the past. So what we want to do when we're having communications, you don't say, you make me feel angry when you say I'm this. It's like, it would be, when you called me a 3-eyed purple monster, I felt angry and unseen. And so like, you're being clear about what was said, and then you're being clear about what you're feeling. Then you can make a request. Like, I request that you apologize to me, or I request you explain maybe more about what you meant by that. Like, were you trying to cause me pain?
Right, the intention behind it. Because people will
Yes.
say things in a joke, but then there's things where people are really calling each other names, like bullying and that kind of thing. And two totally different intentions, but they could also be two different frequencies as well that, basically bombard ourselves.
Yeah. But the advantage, the thing that happened right in that space that we just created with integral communication, or also known as nonviolent communication speaks from all 4 quadrants also, is you aren't jumping to the conclusion that you made me feel this way. Like, look, I own my feelings. I felt this way when you said this, and you can make a request. I request that you explain like what you meant by that. So you're offering them an opportunity to clarify themselves instead of getting into a fight with them. And usually when you open yourself up to being vulnerable and saying like what your feelings are, you let your guard down. So they have the option to either be a bully and fight, or to match you, to meet you, to let their energy down too. Because most people don't really want to fight and stuff. But they jump to that really quickly because they don't know how else to respond in certain situations.
Right. So let's kind of take all that we've talked about and kind of lead into like the whole topic of jealousy that I really wanted to get your opinion on, because I don't know if it was you or someone in the workshop that told me that it was actually something you had struggled with to overcome in your partnership. And do you feel like you have overcome your jealousies or insecurities? Do you want
Definitely.
to how that came about and how you got through it, or what do you do to cope with jealousy when it comes up?
So, like I said, my partner is honestly, I think, one of the most beautiful women I've ever met in my life. And she's incredibly secure in her body. So when we'll go out, she'll wear very revealing clothes, and incredibly sexy, or just hot. But it's her style. She's not doing it to get other people's attention. She's just expressing herself. And sometimes you can like see her nipples or her like butt cheeks or something, and you're like wow, like that, like it's very arousing to me. And I used to feel like protective of her, and like thinking that's
Because
inappropriate
other
kind of.
guys might notice and
Yeah. And um and we did a couple things, and it was a process for me. One was like I started mashing her and our sexiness and going out, and she would dress me, and we would get all kinds of compliments and have fun. And also, I just became really. I ended up switching to becoming supportive. We go to some parties that are body positive, which means clothing optional, and I would be like, hey, yeah, like you can be naked, all that kind of stuff. And the more supportive I became actually of this, like the more conservative she became, which was kind of weird. But still totally herself. But she'd be like one of the last people like naked, for example, if she even did. And I'm not. I don't really know what that means, but I just realized that we were both giving each other a lot of trust, and also we were around people who we really trusted, and that jealousy wasn't serving. It would just make us have a fight, and it wasn't getting anywhere. We weren't having fun. It wasn't an emotion that was positive, and instead I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna worship this goddess I'm with,
oh,
because if I stick to being jealous, I'm gonna push her away. My fear is gonna come true if I keep holding on to this fear, which isn't true right now. But in the best case scenario of me being right is that I'll then push her away. So that's a lose lose. So instead,
hallelujah. Thank you for saying all of that. Like, I feel like this needs to be what more men need to hear. It's like if your woman is with you, she's with you. Like, get rid of your jealousies, because jealousy just causes detrimental problems and like arguments and unnecessary stress and strife. And it's like, just let it go. Love the woman you're with, be in the present moment, and just, I love what you said, honor your goddess or worship your goddess. Like, why can't more men think that way? We need more of that in the world.
And it's a shift. So what I recommend to the men is be totally honest with her. Like, look, when I look at you, I think you are incredibly hot. I have a fear that maybe someone's going to try touching you or something like that, and I want to protect you. Um, and and maybe ask like if you're unsure, like, why are you dressed this way? And she'll probably be like, it's for you. And be like, okay, well, like, how can I dress to match your hotness, kind of thing, and make it a thing, because women want to be supported, men want to be supported also. When we show trust in each other, we don't have reasons to go to other people. But when we don't, we're not going to be happy, we're not going to be fulfilled, we don't feel that love, so we're naturally going to be pushing them away and creating our own pain. And that's what I realized, was I was creating my own pain. I was responsible for my own interpretation of everything that was going on. Everyone else was having fun. They're like they're happy with their bodies, and they don't like half as good. So like, why am I trying to conserve this woman? And it just, none of it made sense when I really got to it. But I couldn't reason it out. It just came through practice and recognizing I am uncomfortable, and then everything was okay. And then we go out again. I'm like, I felt like a little discomfort, but then everything was still okay. And I realized like that wasn't serving me. I was building these positive experiences, but I was also being honest with myself, and I was allowing myself to feel that. And I was letting her know I was feeling that. But I wasn't making her responsible for my feelings. I was owning those feelings myself. She wasn't causing those feelings in me. That was my conditioning. And I knew it was my conditioning. And I told her, I know this is my conditioning. However, I still feel this way, and I want to work through this kind of thing. I didn't force her to change or anything like that. And now it's great. When she gets a compliment from somebody else, I'm like, awesome. I love it that people see her. And it was funny because we'd go out, she'd dress me, and like more often I would get the compliments and be like, well, she's my stylist. So it was great. But I do think we should be allowed to compliment each other and be like Mandy, I love your earrings. They're like really great. They're really fun. Just to be able to be honest and authentic with each other, and not concerned about what somebody else is going to say. Like, I said that to you not because I want to have sex with you, just because I was being genuine in the moment. And I know you love them too, because they are super fun, and I'm sure you have some great stories to go with them.
Yeah, well, actually, like, I really relate with your girlfriend's wardrobe. I remember at the workshop we were dressed similar. Like, I don't typically like do too much nipple stuff, but like, I respect people that are brave enough to do that. In Portland, actually, I lived in Portland, Oregon for like a year, and wow, like the style there is really like out there, and a lot of the girls are braless. Like, a lot of the women there don't believe in bras, and they don't shave their pits. They're kind of like hairy, and it's like, it's just different out there. And so honestly, I've really loved my travels, that, spending all the time in LA and Portland, and like seeing these different basically cultures and communities, and not just that, but how women are like way more out there in freedom. And yes, there is more sexualized women in LA. Like, I would go to red carpet events, and I would be shocked at some of the things that women would wear. I mean, we're talking packed events, photographers everywhere. And I walked behind this one girl walking into this event. She had a see-through dress on. And I mean see-through. She might have been wearing a vegetable plastic bag. It was like I could see her ass. And like, I was like, dang, girl, why don't you just walk in naked? I mean, you're just pretty much wearing like film over your skin. And this was Hollywood, and I was just like, well, we're in a new age, you can wear whatever you want or not. And so and bikinis. Oh my God. Bikinis are like thongs now. It's like, why are we even wearing anything? Just why don't we just go to the beach naked if you're gonna wear a thong and your ass is hanging out? But anyway, I went off on a tangent, but I like I love it to see the different ways that people express themselves. And I do like encourage people to be themselves, show your colors, whatever rainbow you want to be or not, goth or like, it doesn't matter. Like, I like to see all the different kinds of people creations and their own style. Like, I just be yourself. You don't have to be exactly like your peers or your friends or your family. And that it goes beyond clothes too. I remember I went to this spiritual event, and this girl was trying to do angel card readings at this event. She had a table and her card decks, and she was on the phone like fighting with her family about it. Her family was like really religious and fighting with her, and she was crying. And I was just trying to like be there for her and be like, you know what? Just do what makes you happy. If you want to do card readings, that's a beautiful thing. You're helping people. Like, your family's just gonna have to deal with it. Like, I mean, it's really tough when you got your own family against you, but you still have to listen to that voice within inside you and march to the beat of your own drum, because that's what you were instilled with. There's a reason for your own inner voice and your own inner drive, you know?
Totally. And this kind of comes back around to something we were talking about a little bit earlier, which was culture, and how culture has really handicapped most of us, I would say all of us, into certain levels of consciousness. It hasn't really been until recently, and I love Austin because Austin is very much like Portland, and that we are in a postmodern era, which is a higher stage of consciousness. Would be considered green if you follow spiral dynamics, which is the last level of the first stage. It's all about really emotions, feelings, equality. So much that's happened in the past 50 to 100 years with civil rights and stuff has happened due to this level of consciousness. Our schools condition us for what's called modernist orange consciousness, and that's where we believe in competition, meritocracy, where we basically work our way up to wherever we deserve to be, and strong faith in science and some institutions. And then you have the level below that, which is traditional amber, which is all about the church. So you can see how our institutions have kind of like handicapped our development a certain amount. But as we realize and understand this, we can move away from those institutions or even our families for a time to continue our own personal development. And what is now understood is that we develop our entire lives, not just through childhood. It's not just childhood development, it's lifelong development. And every few years, you have a chance to upgrade your consciousness. And if you can create the right environments and do the shadow work, you have a chance to experience a new perspective of reality. And each one is very rewarding. There isn't anything wrong with the different ones. We go through all of them, but it is a wonderful joy, I think, like being an integral consciousness, because there you can appreciate all of them at the same time and really start to see the entire world at play, the systems, everything that's going on. And you just live in a yes and world. There is no reason for saying no anymore. You see the value in everything and recognize that everybody is right around you, and how to design society to function in this way. Instead of all being about competition and the dualities and all that kind of stuff, we can have it all. We don't have to keep living in scarcity. We can move to living in abundance. We have the technology for it. We have the knowledge. We have the brain to be able to live that way if we stop shackling ourselves. And I think what's happening right now is great with COVID. The breakdown of it's going to cause a lot of conventional havoc, but it's ushering in a new era We are becoming decentralized. Decentralization of where we work, all that kind of stuff is going away. We're also recognizing that the institutions that are in place weren't serving us, and we're able to move into communities. We're able to live with people who we want. We can discover our tribe. And that gives us some really great opportunities. And that is what I would, if I could recommend anything to anybody, it would be trim your group, trim the people who you're around to just the 5 people who inspire you the most. Not the 5 people who look up to you the most, the 5 people who inspire you the most. Because that's where you're going to get the most growth. Is if you're around people who you think you're better than, you are helping nobody but you're not helping yourself at all. You're not going to grow because you don't have anybody to inspire that change. You want to be around people who are going to make you be a better version of yourself, who are going to hold you to your integrity, people who are going to challenge the way you think. One of my favorite things that happens to me is when I discover something, a belief system I had that was totally wrong. And that's exciting, is when you see something like you thought the entire world worked this way, then you're like, whoa, this totally changed.
That's hard for some people, especially like extremely religious people, because if people have built their whole life and reality or family or like everything about them is, I see religion as kind of like a cage that people willingly put over their brain and their life. And they operate through this caged reality and these principles and boundaries placed by a religious belief. And religion is basically a set of beliefs that try to tell you why we're here, the purpose of life, the best way to do things, where the earth came from. It's like a set of beliefs. And there's infinite sets of beliefs throughout the history of humanity. And so people can get really triggered if you challenge their belief system that they have been raised with and drilled into by other people. It's like, almost everything we know seems to be basically what we've been passed down from other people. And whether or not that's true or not, I mean, who's to say? Everything's kind of subjective, like you said, like, so it can be traumatizing when people break out of the box and open their mind to other things. They're like, oh my God, I've been living my life this way or believing this, and maybe that isn't actually true, or maybe that's not true for me anymore, or not the reality I want to follow anymore. Like, it can be traumatizing to change, the shift, as you call it.
Yeah. Well, I have a big spoiler and security for everybody who is in traditional amber or religious, is that there's an ironic surprise after you go through and enter their second stage of consciousness. And what I'll say is that all of these teachings are valid in that they are the story of our humanity. It's called The Hero's Journey. Joseph Campbell writes about this, and it is one of the most important things we need to know. Every spiritual teaching that I've reviewed is essentially the hero's journey. It's the life that we experience. It's a myth to help us through the tribulations that we go through, and it's a guide to reaching stage 3 consciousness. The highest stage that we are aware of, which is considered like sage or saint stage consciousness. These are a guide for that. Now, the institutions have monetized most of these religions, and they don't help you ascend. Because when you ascend, you realize you don't need the church. I mean, if you read the Bible, you don't need the church. Jesus was opposed to the church. Why would you go to church when Jesus is like, don't go to church? Like, but what's happening when people who are in the consciousness of tradition is that they're allowing somebody else to do the thinking for them. And they aren't experiencing what these teachings was meant, the beauty that was there. So when you look at someone like Jesus, for example, like he questioned authority. He questioned all these things. He teaches you to question them. So you need to. And that will bring you into what's called like postmodern orange, where you become science, you become skeptical of everything. But then you will get into touch with all your emotions, your feelings when you enter postmodern green. You're going to start feeling it, like, oh, wait, this is wrong. And then you enter integral and you're like, oh, wait, I was only living from one perspective. Now I have all of these perspectives, and I see it all. I see the bigger picture now.
Mm.
And you realize that this was all a part to get you somewhere else. So people who are at this traditional level, feel free to open up, because what you have is really valuable, but you're not utilizing it right now while staying where you are.
Perfect way to end the note. We've reached our 1 hour, and I love that that was like your final sentence. So everybody go back and review his last sentence. But I want to say thank you for coming on the show, for your time, and for being a cool friend in the community. And I do believe Stephen has a lot to offer. And if anybody's interested in getting some integral coaching with Stephen, how can people reach you? Do you have you want to say a website or email?
Yes. My email would be great. It's divinedragonsconsulting@gmail.com. It's kind of long. You can also look me up on Facebook and reach out that way. Those would be great right now. I do have a website. It isn't live yet. We're still rolling out the finer details. But so you all are the first to even hear about the Divine Dragons. So congratulations. But it will be divinedragonsconsulting.com. And the reason we use consulting is coaching is like one quadrant of personal development, and we believe that consulting includes oh my gosh, I'm blanking my words. It includes advice, it includes financial coaching, it includes mentorship. So we're looking at all.
Well, yeah, it's customized for your person. So I always do one last thing at the end before I wrap up the show. I like to just tell people about my products really quick. So I'm going to just take you out just for a second, bring you back in for final goodbye, okay?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, everybody, if you're interested in deep healing, I have a meditation healing guided CD and sound bath that helps walk you through each of your energy centers and chakras to clear out any wounds and baggage so you can feel clearer. And it's available for sale on my website. Just look up my Epic Healing CD. And it's $25, includes shipping. I also have angel relationship guidance romantic relationship angel guidance cards. They're not tarot, they're not oracle, but they're they help you with get you to feel within your relationship and guide you within your inner voice to make decisions in your partnership. So let me know. These are on pre-order, so if you're interested in the cards, you have to message me and say you want to get on the pre-order list. But the CD is available for sale. I can ship it to you right away. And I just want to bring Stephen back in for one last goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching the show, and thank you for Stephen for being your consulting and your time and expertise. All right, maybe we can see each other again someday and do a double date or something.
Yeah, I think that'd be wonderful. And thank you all so much. I look forward to seeing you all level up.
Cool. All right. Good night, everybody. Goodbye. God bless.